Welcome to the Morse Code Podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurially minded musicians, artists, and writers. My name's Korby, and I'm hoping these conversations inspire you to push deeper into your own work, whether you're a full-time professional or just starting out on your own creative odyssey. Okay, just a quick announcement before we get into our next amazing guest. You'd think I'd be used to this by now, but I'm not, okay? I'm nervous. And I'm nervous because I'm about to release my first new music in like 4 years. The quick story is that I've been playing and touring my whole life, like 8 albums worth. But I took a few years off to do something wild, which was to write and produce a TV show. The show had a truly fantastic year on the film festival circuit and won a bunch of awards, including a few Best Lead Actor awards. But it took pretty much everything I had in me to do, okay? Okay, that show is called Morse Code, and very soon we're going to make it public so anyone anywhere can watch this 30-minute pilot. In the meantime, you can watch the 1-minute trailer, which is on my website, korbylinker.com, on the videos tab. What's it about? Okay, it's a fiction version of the guests we have every week on this podcast, people who are called to a life of creativity in spite of all the challenges and inevitable setbacks and lack of financial prosperity inherent in such a choice. In the case of the Morse Code show, I play a guy who's trying to be a good artist and a good dad, much like some of the folks here in East Nashville. So Morse Code is what this podcast is named after. Okay, now you're caught up. So everything's always changing. Everything's a whirlwind, just keeps whirling around, you know. So after these 8 albums and the damn TV show, I'm trying to do something new, which is to put out a single. That's it, just a single. Okay, is that too much to ask? Can I just put out one song and see what it feels like? Okay. Anyway, that single's called Meet Me at the End of the World. And honestly, I'm really proud of it. If you're not sick of me talking about myself yet, do me a big fat favor and pre-save it by visiting my website, the aforementioned korbylinker.com. It'll just be right there. Okay. MAIR is a super talented multi-instrumentalist songwriter and singer. Mandolin, acoustic, electric guitar, bass, nylon string banjo. She's one of these people from whom music pours out as effortlessly as rain from a swollen cloud or water from a properly pressurized fire hydrant. If you're into bluegrass music, you probably known about her for 10 years, maybe as Mary Meyer, playing mandolin with her brothers in the Meyer Band. I think she was 13 when she started out, which means she's a seasoned veteran, more than a decade into her career, and she's not even in her mid-20s. Maybe you caught her Lick of the Day series. Maybe you saw her on stage with Sister Sadie or at Stagecoach or South by Southwest or with Anna Graves opening for Stevie Nicks or Maren Morris. The girl is in high demand, okay? Her new project, MAIR, showcases her singing and her soft touch and this flair for a tone poem kind of songwriting, I would say, is not unlike Elliot Smith's take on it, which is, one of my favorite songwriters anywhere. You'll see it for yourself or hear it at least when she plays a live song later on in the episode, but not before we go deep on relationships, including her recent divorce and the rebirth that came out of that, her upbringing as a homeschooled kid in Missouri, and her bold vision for her own ideal career in music. I've been following MAIR since probably 2022, and I've just really dug the way she makes music and how she balances her dual identities as a player for whom any band or song benefits, that with this absolute need to express herself in her own way. This is a magic person. Okay, if you get something out of the Morse Code podcast and our deep dives on creative living and expression, please take a second to like and subscribe. And now, here's my conversation with MAIR. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Yeah,
we've been talking for half an hour already. So,
oh, wow.
Hopefully,
that was so fast.
Give or take, I know.
Yeah.
Birds of a feather. But I think I wanted to talk to you. I don't know much.
Okay.
Except for what I've seen on the social media. And
just a sliver.
Just a sliver. Just a hint of what is to come. And well, this is the thing that I've always loved is, and what I've sought for in my own music and what I'm attracted to in other artists is people that can play really, and then they can really sing, and they can really write songs.
Cool.
And like seeing you do your thing, it's just like you exude music that makes no apology, but it's also not like a in your face, check it out. Although you can. I mean, I've been a fan ever since the Lick of the Day, series and stuff. And that stuff is like what is wonderful about having chops. And maybe we're going to go. I don't know where we're exactly going to go in this conversation, but I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that bluegrass background.
Yeah, cool.
And in your mind, what do you think was best that about bluegrass and that background in terms of how it serves you now?
I think the improv side of it, like you are always walking up to a song thinking like, I mean, I have the melody in my mind and then I'm thinking, what can I add in the dynamic space? But you're always getting to play the same song a little bit different every time you play it. And I love that. So if you can improvise on one instrument and then grow that to another instrument, that it's like, to me, it feels like being unstoppable. And I still have this this thing that I had when I was a kid where I'll see an instrument, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can learn that. Let's figure it out, because I can pick out a melody on anything. And that's always been interesting, because I've never seen instruments as like, oh, I could never play that, or like, I'm not interested. It's more like, cool, how do you do that? I'm going to learn. It's final. It's not like maybe.
Yes, totally. There's no if.
It's like, I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that came from, because we grew up in classical music where, I mean, we were actually like not really allowed to listen to other music besides classical and choir music. So I feel like that's where a big understanding of harmony and melody and the feeling of the song itself came from for me. But still now, like, since we didn't start listening to country music or bluegrass music until I was like 11-ish, 10 or 11, and then country music later, anything with drums was later. But I still feel like I have so much music that other people know about that's just the classics. And I'm like, yeah, I've never heard of that band. Yeah. And it can be a huge band. Like, people started talking about the Beatles, and I started hearing about them when I was maybe 16 or 17, and I was like, no idea what you're talking about. So if that says grew up in a cult, I don't know, but I don't think it was a purposeful cult, but some of the things.
So why did it sounds like your parents kind of held the reins a little tight, musically speaking, when they're growing up, and no harm, no foul there. But bluegrass was, I'm going to hazard a guess, like acceptable in a way.
Bluegrass became acceptable, but when we first started playing, we could only sing hymns. And so we sang at churches, we sang at like chili cook-offs, and just the little neighborhood things. And I remember, that song Sunny Side of the Mountain, like the Jimmy Martin song. That was too secular, because it talks about cheating, right? Like she left with someone else, and so now I'm going to go die on the hill, like poor me. That was too secular. And with drums and other things, which, thankfully drums weren't in bluegrass and we could play it. But that, I think part of that might have just been because it was so loud. And part of it was if it made you want to move at all and dance, then it was kind of your pathway, your gateway drug to hell. Sure.
We grew up not too dissimilarly.
You also? Drums were the devil's beat? Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we didn't have any music in our house. I was made to take piano lessons as a little kid because my parents, that was part of their idea of one of their the aspects of good parents, where you teach your kid an instrument. Wow. And it was great. I mean, I still play piano to this day. There's one in the front house that's going to be in the studio shortly. And the backbone of music for me. Okay. Love it. Same. Great. Piano. Took piano lessons. Yay. Never had an album in the house. Parents never bought a single record. There was no music in the house ever except Christian radio and the hymns from church. Yeah. So that's downside. Right. Like you, I didn't hear the Beatles until I was 14. To me, it was like the Beatles were like not the thing for me. It was Neil Young. It was the folk singers. Because there's something about that individual song thing that I really cottoned to. Yeah. And so I totally relate to the absence of key bands that you should be aware of.
But you weren't Amish.
I wasn't. No, but we were Amish adjacent.
Dude, we were Amish adjacent. Did you guys grow up like super modest? Like were the women like wore dresses and skirts?
No, but there was no floor length requirements. But it was just my father comes from a long line of preachers. My brother's a preacher.
Okay.
And he grew up super poor in a logging town in Oregon. He had 11 brothers and sisters. And so, but my dad is also like, he's just like a really sincere person. I love my father a lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to besmirch the family name either.
Absolutely.
And it is a governing principle, I think, to a fault in a way. I think I need to thrash still a little bit more than I have.
Feel that, yeah.
But it was just like that, the idea of worldliness was key growing up. And just like, as in, don't.
In the world, but not of it.
Yes, exactly.
Were you guys highly religious too?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, super.
I mean, your dad was a preacher, your brother.
Yeah, twice. Okay. We went to church twice on Sundays, once on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Wednesday every week of my life until I was, got out of there. And whatever. I'm not even rebelling against it exactly.
No,
but I also
it's
really am in a way, which I think you are too in a way.
Well, it took me a few years to come back to where I could even like hear people talk about God and church things, because I would just be so upset by it. And part of that wasn't the way I grew up. It was that like, because I grew up as sheltered as I did, I still thought that like the right path forward would be to get married young and have children. Mm-hmm. And so when I moved to Nashville, we met some other big families, and they were all musical, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'm gonna marry this guy. And I was like, oh, his dad's like crazy abusive, maybe we don't. And called off an engagement when I was 18, and then like immediately after started going to this other church that was like super reformed, like Calvinist, and just like, you're a piece of shit, but thank God for grace.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this sucks. Like, what kind of artist makes art that he hates, and then is like, oh, I'm gonna go kill this other, my son to save you. Like, I made you to be just awful. Like, I hate you, but I'm going to save you. What?
It's hard to work out the details if you get real granular.
I can't do that. So, but I got really involved in this church and ended up marrying a deacon from that church when I was 20. And then I left him when I was 22. And that just like full spin, like, is everything that I thought or dreamed about a complete lie because of how, this guy like was well respected in the church, and like everyone thought that he was being good to me, and that like our problems that we were having were just my fault. So
Mary, can you just pull the mic up just a little bit? I just want to make sure that you're in there enough.
Is it falling a little?
It's a little falling.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever been around a microphone, but you
never
just
seen one.
You twist that knob there real tight.
No, I've never been my own tech, so no, I'm just kidding. I wish. I have many times.
Okay, well, I just want to interject really quickly, just as if we didn't have enough in common. I was married. I got married at 18.
Whoa.
I got divorced at 22, and it was changed my life entirely, top to bottom. It was the most devastating thing, and I came away having this weird new respect for divorcees.
Yes,
because maybe you can relate. I don't know. I just thought, prior to all of that, I was just like, well, divorce, that's for quitters. That's what you do when you quit.
No, it was forbidden my whole life growing up.
Absolutely.
Unless you were like fully being beaten.
Sure.
Which was maybe you can get divorced, but probably you just need to be a better wife.
Yeah.
But thankfully, like my parents did have my back. They were like, wow, like, yes, you need to get out of there. But that's
great.
You left. Did you have support when you left?
No, it was really bad. I was the guy. I was the bad guy. It wasn't even a cheating situation. I was just like, I got married young, and I had music on my. It was all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Priorities 1 through 5.
Yeah.
And then like, it's like even painful 25 years later to talk about it a little bit. But she's married since long time past. But I had spent my 20s just like, you're kind of the biggest asshole in the world because you did this. You broke this girl's heart, but on the upside, which is what I would like to dwell on.
Yeah.
Prior to all of that, I was like, divorced people are quitters. You should stick it out, barring
abusive situations
and stuff. But having done it and gone through it, I just remember like when it was really bad, And I was, 20, and it occurred to me the first time, like, well, you could get divorced. I was just like, yeah, right. Like, I would never. I wouldn't do that to her. I wouldn't do that to my parents. I wouldn't do that to her parents. I could just list on and on all the people that whose hearts I weren't going to break and whose hearts would be broken if I made that decision. Yeah. And then it just had to be terrible for 16 more months of me just being like, I'm going to maybe kill myself if I keep doing this.
I know.
And I'm going to have to, and I did. And then she went crazy for years in alcohol, and it was really bad. Yeah. And that was all my fault, And then at some point I just had to be like, dude, you can just carry this the rest of your life and punish yourself. Nobody else is really doing it. Yeah. Or you can just choose to live. Right. And be like, okay, I was young.
And you got a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and I did, yeah. No,
I don't mean like at marriage. I mean like at life. Like that was the biggest thing when I went to find out.
Sorry. Continue.
It is insane. Wait, you're one of how many kids?
3.
Okay, so your parents didn't.
They weren't. Yeah, they weren't crazy. We weren't Mormons. Or like, I'm not saying people who have a lot of kids are crazy.
No, I'm one of 10 though.
Nice. So, that's real. But your parents, you didn't exactly break your parents' heart. So
not getting divorced, no. It was more, I just felt so bad at it. I was like, why did I, like, how did I not know better? How could I not have known, like, this was going to go this way? And, like, I did feel bad about, like, spending my dad's money. Like, he had just helped me get married. Now he's helping me get divorced. And, like, of course, the guy, like, while saying, I love you so much, I want this to work out, he drained our accounts, like our joint accounts that were originally in my name that I had put money in, like, cut me off fully while saying, I love you, I want this to work out. So my parents totally had my back, like in every way. And I ended up living with my brother for a while. And just a lot of people, some of the people from the church helped me out. And then I think one family like left the church over it because I was being rebellious and a bad wife. I would definitely do it again.
Wow.
So, but it was getting divorced that young is insane. Cause some of your friends are like graduating college and they're like, it's summer, like let's party, let's do whatever. And you're like going to the courthouse and you're like, oh my God, I have to meet with a lawyer.
It's the heaviest thing.
Who knows how to do this? No one can tell you how to do it either, because everyone's story is different. So you're just trying to make the next decision. And, but I was at a point where I was like, I'm going to drive my car off a bridge if I go home to him one more time. And I ended up trying, like, after that, 6 months of feeling, I ended up trying a whole nother week and just was like, okay. And I had my mom finally came to town and was like, I'm getting an Airbnb, you're welcome to stay. But she was really careful in how she worded it because she didn't want to come off as like, I'm telling you get divorced right now, because she didn't want to like spook me into this like, wait, no, divorce is wrong thing. So she was very wise in how she approached that whole decision. And then, like her and my dad had my back so hard, which I'm so grateful for. And even the church, like, there was some stuff that they said that looking back now, I'm like, who the hell says that to someone? Like, that's insane talk. But they also did at least support a separation, which helped me. I was able to get safe. And
the church supported the separation.
They supported the separation. They made him leave the church so that I would have somewhere safe to go if I wanted to go to church at all. So I went there for a few months and then I was like, see y'all.
I wonder if, having gone through that, I mean, and that's quite a crucible of emotional agony. Yeah. And coming out on the other side, that's got to make you feel stronger unto yourself. No?
I was thinking about this maybe yesterday. Like, there's parts of me that I feel like are broken now, that you can't put them back together the same way. But then there's other parts that were never hurt at all, that are still true and like just unharmed. They're unfazed by it. And so I think the strength feeling is more like hey, you made it through that. You've had so much fun since this. So if anything comes up now that's difficult, I'm like, oh, I have a record of making it through difficult things and still finding like the silver lining, and also making beauty for myself, putting myself in the way of beauty. Like, I get to meet amazing people, see beautiful things. Like, I feel so lucky. And also, the lady who was my lawyer, I walked in, talked to her, and she was like, oh girl, you just described my ex-husband. We're about to give you a second chance at life. I'm going to knock $1,000 off your retainer fee. We got you. And I was just like,
that's just so huge to feel that kind of support. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, this is like maybe the first time I've posted once on social media about like going through a divorce at all. But I think this is the first.
Well, it's not like something people, the first time, I'm sorry to interrupt, the first time you sort of unpacked it a little.
Talked about it publicly. Yeah. But I've wanted to, because I definitely, I mean, I have things I want to say to people who grew up like really conservative, and they get into these situations where like, even though mine hadn't gotten to a point where like, it's not like he was giving me a black eye every day or anything, but like the emotional abuse and in the way of like keeping me up at all hours of the night and like trying to like wake me up every hour to have sex. It's like, that is also unthinkable abuse to somebody's personhood. And there are women, you know, in the towns that I grew up in and going to church at, like, what if they hear this and they're like, wait a minute, that's me. Or like people that aren't aware that what they're going through is actually insanity. And getting to know that like, hey, I made it out. There are people that are there to catch you, that want to help you. And even if you don't have the support you wish you had, you can have you. And that can be enough. And that's like, I'd love to do more talking, or like, I don't know.
That's very beautiful.
Help more people.
And I hope that she is listening.
Yeah.
Right now.
I love you. You can do this.
Yeah. You really, what I'd like to ask, you said, and it's also anything I ask, if it's just like, okay, dude, we can't talk about that. We'll just cut it out of the podcast. So don't worry about it. But you said, you know, like some parts of you feel like are broken and won't be repaired. And maybe I'll just talk about my own circumstance for just a second to get into that. But like, one of the things that I felt like when I was divorced was that like the illusion was pierced forever. Yes. There was no, and it really was forever. It never came. There was no going back to this idyllic thing that I had in my mind. And for me, it was because I broke a promise, and that was the part of it. But, there's still joy and happiness and love. And I mean, my life is a testament to that right now. I'm incredibly lucky. It did take 20 years of insanity and stupid decisions, and also wonderful decisions.
Right. But, the whole gamut.
You know, but, you know, so that's what it looked like for me. But when you say that there's parts of you that are broken and will never be fixed, what does that look like for you?
I guess it's similar to what you said, but it's like, you cannot go back and have the same naive experience of love and have the chance to get it right the first time. That's taken away from you. And so my sadness, or like my heartbreak over that, is what I can't get back. But it's actually, the flip side is amazing, because what you do get then is the ability to appreciate somebody else for being what they are, and for not being those other things, which is a whole new kind of love that you wouldn't have had you never been broken up that way. So,
wow, I feel like everything we talk about after this is just gonna be so much easier.
I don't feel like this was that. No, I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, maybe, we could talk about this a lot more. But maybe I will talk about music for a little bit, because you're doing it constantly. And we talked about before the mics were working, kind of what that looks like for you. And just to bring everybody up to snuff, it seems like you're in a place right now where freedom is of paramount importance. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And what does that look like kind of on a day-to-day basis for you, in like maybe the short and the sort of medium term? Because you're still taking gigs and stuff. You'll still play in bands.
I'm still side lady for people, They love that Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, they do. Who doesn't?
It's fun. Yeah, I feel... Let me think about this for a sec. Will you ask that question again?
Yeah. What does freedom look like for you right now? That's in the sense of why it's so gratifying. You're in a good spot.
I think having my morning. It's like one of the last tours that I was on. My friend was asking me, "Well, what do you love about being on the road with music?" And the first, I listed like 7 or 8 things, and it was all about like having my slow morning, like getting to wake up, see the sun outside, be somewhere pretty, or go get a coffee and like take a little while to wake up. Just be slow. And that, pretty music, like meaningful conversations with friends. And she was like, "Aren't you on the road because you love music?" And I was like, I'm working. And I realized that the way that I thought about touring wasn't, I just love being out here. I love everything about it, and my friend was a little bit more like that. And I was like, wow, I really don't feel that way. Should I be feeling that way? So I got a little existential about it, of course, and naturally. But with touring, it's still like there's so many different kinds of gigs, because if you're in a car with a friend, it's like that looks one way. You're driving to the next gig, you're getting a snack at the gas station. Then if you're on a bus and it's like really nice, somebody's like, "Hey, here's the lunch order, throw your meal in," like, or there's catering, then you get to kind of screw off and like go have your actual morning before you have to go see people. So there is a level, but I mean, no matter what, your evening is ending with really bright lights and like high stimulation and all of these people and all of this energy. And then it's like bedtime and your body is like, what? We just lived the middle of the day at night. Like, I'm going to need some time. And so that over and over, it's just exhausting. And then especially for women, I don't know. I mean, I've never toured as a dude, so I can't speak to that. But for me, with like having the hormones that women have, it's like, the week after my period, which I'm just going to speak about this freely.
Tell it. Yeah.
But the week after my period, I'm like, yeah, let's tour. Let's do everything. Say yes to everything. And then it's like, I'm heading into my little winter time. Let's say no. Let's be cozy. And if you're in peak performance, like shows, meeting people, going, and you're like, wow, I'm having cramps, and you just have to keep going, or you have to take medicine that like I'd rather not take. I'd rather be cozy and warm and not have to take medicine. But that actually is, I don't like that. I don't enjoy that.
That actually is, I don't like that.
Then that's where like choosing freedom, it's such a give and take, because if you do take on the side musician touring gig, it's like, this is good work. And I enjoy, especially like towards the end of the year, I've gotten to work with just some amazing people. And that has been just, I'm so grateful to like kind of end the year on the tour that I was on. We did this tour with Matt Marr and Sarah Kroger, and they were singing like Christmas hymns in cathedrals across the Northeast.
I saw some of the pictures. Yeah.
So beautiful to be part of. Just majestic. Like for one, you could be in any of those rooms and look around for 2 days straight and not see everything. But the sound and singing with everyone, that was like the moment where you are a kid and you're going Christmas caroling, because we actually did that growing up. It felt like that, just such a beautiful time. And this was one of the first moments that I felt like, too, being part of something faith-based without me feeling like, oh my God, I have to get out of here. It was just more like I could see and appreciate the beauty without feeling like I needed to share my testimony or like have my theology figured out so that if anybody asks me, I can evangelize. It's like I just was able to take what I enjoyed and be like, okay, very open about it. So to circle back to the freedom thing, that's so much about what I'm holding in here and in my mind. And I feel like I'm able to hold that better with the morning to myself. So now I'm like, how do I make choices or get to where, and I think before this started, we talked a little bit about morning shows, but like, what would it look like to tour less, but have more meaningful experiences with people and create the kind of environment that like I would want to be part of myself as an attendee. And that's where like my new project, MAIR in the Morning.
MAIR in the Morning.
MAIR in the Morning.
Okay.
And it's just like sweet little cozy, cute songs. I'm getting to play every instrument. I'm recording out at Verdugo Sound in LA with my friend Aaron Stern. And that connection happened so last minute. Like I was in a car wreck with my friend while on tour.
Was that with Judy?
With Judy Blank. Yeah, you know Judy.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Another fantastic artist.
Yes, amazing. But we were in this car wreck and like we pressed on for 8 days. Like we borrowed a car from my dad and like we ended up in LA. And I just finally was like, I have to, like, we can figure out how to get you to this other show, but like, I'm freaking out. Like, I have to take a day or two off. So we ended up taking 2 days, and Aaron Goodrich, that I was in the duo with, he connected me with Aaron Stern, who had a session fall through. I ended up going to his place, and he had every piece of gear and all of the real sounds. It wasn't like, here's a MIDI keyboard, let's find a sound. That just zaps me. Like that takes my energy and my creativity and it's like, see ya. But if something is there and it's real and it has a soul, you know, is made out of wood, then I'm like, okay. And he really feels like the other half of my brain on this project, where I get to be little creative dits. And he's like, here's the right mic for that. Here's the right sound. Let's press all these buttons.
Amazing.
And then, yeah. So it's, the MAIR in the Morning music is also, it's being made in this beautiful place and like close to the ocean. And I'm so excited that like, that's the energy that gets to be part of these songs finally coming to life.
Yeah.
So,
and so MAIR in the Morning is an album.
It's going to be 7 songs. So an EP, but like, yes, it's a whole project.
And so were these songs, you've been kind of sitting on them, waiting for, you didn't know what? Right.
I've had them for a while. Some of them I've demoed in different places, actually here when Nick was still here. But yeah, just felt like, okay, this is not quite right. Or even like, I really want to be able to make whatever this art is the most true to me. And while there is so much room for amazing producers and like other people to put their fingerprint on it, I really felt like with this, what happens if it's just me? Like, what if I'm really the painter on all of this? And I'm stoked.
So exciting. And it sounds like also you needed you needed Aaron
Stern, yeah.
And Aaron. You needed somebody
both of them,
that would,
yes.
Well, no, I just mean you just needed a partner in this journey.
Yes, who can do the other half. And that's absolutely, I really need that.
I love that. It also it's a testament to like not forcing things to happen, because there could be a mentality in a young, talented, ambitious artist to be like, I haven't put out a song on Spotify in 4 months, or, I just need to put music out. Like, here's this batch of songs. Hey, are you available? Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty good. And it sounds like that is not the MAIR way of doing it.
Yeah. Right, I'd really love for these songs to come from a place of like calm joy, where I am actually having fun in this process. And you're going to feel that in this whole like hustle, desperate, like scramble thing. Like sometimes I have to do that for side work, and that's an energy there. But with my actual art, it's like, I really do want it to bring calm to people. And what's been really amazing is when I've shared either like my Dropbox full of songs or sang some of these songs for other people, the feedback I get is like, wow, this makes me tear up. I feel so calmed by you. Like my nervous system sat down. And I'm like, well, one of my friends, Emma Zek, actually said, she's like, why do we call it our nervous system? We should be calling it our calm system so that it gets the point, gets the memo. Like, that's so smart. But yeah, I'd love, especially for this project, it's like what I have to say here is rather than being the person who's running around, say, screaming, the world is on fire, the world is on fire, like, we do need those people. And yet, I really feel like what my purpose here is in this time is if you wash in out of whatever traumatic situation you've had and you land on my little hypothetical doorstep, I want to invite you in for tea or coffee and be like, hey, sit. Can I get you a snack? Here's some pretty music. You can sit as long as you need to, and offer that calm. And that comes back.
An oasis.
Yes.
From the crazy world.
Yes.
That sounds so wonderful. Sign me up.
Okay, all right.
Have that tea.
I'll text you for the first MAIR in the Morning brunch event.
I can't wait. Maybe there's a good segue. Maybe you could play a song.
Okay.
Right now for us.
I'm down.
I'd love that. Do you know what you're going to play?
I would love to play. This one is called "You in the Morning," and it's a sweet little simple song, but it's where kind of the title for the album came from, because it's like MAIR in the Morning, but also came from this song. And
beautiful.
Let's check it out.
I can't wait.
Isn't it something? Isn't it something? Sunlight softly landing on your skin. When you're away, thoughts in the day hold me hostage. All roads lead back, all roads lead back to you, all roads lead back to you in the morning. You in the morning, you in the morning. Isn't it something? All roads lead back, all roads lead back to you, all roads lead back to you in the morning. Yay! Yay!
That was so fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Really good. Yeah. No, I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Me too. And, speaking to another hardcore introvert, I have a very, it's hard for me to talk to party people, in situations where there's a lot of people. And one of the things that I've always struggled with in the music business is that the last thing I ever want to do is go backstage with an artist, even if they're a friend. I just a bunch of people sitting on a couch being cool, saying funnier stuff than I know how to say. All of a sudden, it's so incredibly unnerving to me. And it's all, I realize that's I'm a head case around it, and it doesn't really matter. Nobody really cares.
Sure.
But it does require a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. However, just talking to one person about something, really important to them or me is just it's meaningful. And I don't know about you, but kind of what you're talking about with the MAIR in the Morning project, and what you're, where you're at musically right now, there's something that has to do with just maybe I'm putting something on you too. So I'll speak for myself. I feel like whatever I do, I'm interested in writing a lot too, and storytelling. I'm a big book nerd and have been. That's a huge part of my life. And but whatever it is, if I'm writing songs or playing music or even playing for other people, or it's I feel like I'm in the meaning business. It's all sort of I have this big question mark. I feel like a 4-year-old in my life, just looking up at the stars always, just being like, what is going on? Not like, what is going on? But like, what is going on? You know, it's just like, I feel like I live in this world of wonder and aspire to stay there as much as possible and to try to like cultivate that in the world as much as possible. This world of like, on the one hand sense, like exactitude and like clamoring for things, money or power or like being angry about things that aren't right and injustice, which is true and very much a part of our world. But there is something to be said for being accepting of all kinds of other people, and also just being like humble about like what is really going on. And I love to live there, like in that. I think maybe that's the part of my upbringing that stuck. It was this sort of not obsession, but orientation toward infinite things, you know, big, large scale things, and the smallness of yourself in that like great cosmos. I think that's not a bad way to orient yourself toward the world. Anyway.
Well, that's very convenient for you to think, because that is the way that you are.
Totally. I mean, it does still line up.
Yes. No, I agree with that. Like looking around with awe and thinking, where's the beauty here? Instead of like, everything sucks.
Who's at fault here? Or,
yeah. And I try to live there. Like I definitely can get some of those little depression times, especially when the sun leaves. But the looking around with awe and understanding that like whether to me the point isn't figuring it out as much anymore. It's the fun of the question, living there.
Yeah.
And whether there's heaven or hell and it's really religious or not, it's like, well, no matter what, me and the people I know now will pass on and there will be new people. And so that's the beauty of art, is like making something that lives on to those people of tomorrow where you're not, but something you made is. Some
small footnote would be would be enough for me. But yeah, I can relate. And also, just at the end of your life, I think about this all the time. Like when I was in college and being exposed to great and grand ideas of great men and women of the past, I would always like be less interested in their ideas and more interested. I always wondered to like, well, yeah, but what kind of person were they? Like, what were they like when they were done writing their book?
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is, but it's like basic. And to me, like how I am, where I'm at in my life now, I'm not obsessed, but like really put my lifestyle at the forefront of like, how do I want to live? Like knowing I'm going to die, because the fuse is going to burn out eventually. And when I look back at my life and how I chose to spend my, hours, minutes and days, like what do I want those days to look like? And then how can I best try to make them that way?
Right.
That's part of the reason why I kind of stopped touring. Like when we were talking about earlier, it's so hard on you, and it's very not creative in a way. It's so logistical. And I realized that when I was young and I had these like ideas of what success was, and it was involved, like headlining the Ryman and playing Saturday Night Live and all these things, like which would be wonderful. And I can't wait to do both of those things. But as I got older and I saw people that had, more commercial success than me, they were kind of having the same lifestyle. Like maybe they were on a tour bus and the rooms were bigger, but the actual, like you're still meeting at the parking lot at 4, or you're gone for 3 weeks at a time, or even 4 days at a time. When you have a family, that's a long time. Yeah. And I'm like, I think that now success for me looks like between the hours between when I wake up and go to bed, like having those hours as closely resemble as possible my ideal way to spend my day. Yes. That's what I'm in it for. Yes. That's what this space is about. That's what this conversation's about for me. And like having those opportunities and watching, like cultivating a community. That was another thing about being on the road all the time. There were a couple of years when I was like 150 days a year and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, I felt like I was like in this little spaceship. And like no point of contact except through social media. And that's just no way to live, especially as you get older.
It's not fun.
No. It's a lot. It's a huge sacrifice. Yeah. And a worthy one for sure, especially for a while. But after a while, you start to feel like, oh, I'm doing this again. It's another stage, another place, but it's the same kind of.
It is the same. Well, something I think about is how, like, even though Taylor Swift has a private jet and she flies everywhere, in her private car, she's still getting driven down Briley Parkway to get there. Totally. And so am I. life.
Yeah, that's funny.
So like, in a way, we are all having the same experience. And that helps me to remember when I think about, like you said, like the big ideas of success, like win a Grammy or whatever it is. And like, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, that would be cool. But like, at the same time, the thing that means the most to me is getting to look through my own eyes at a beautiful space that I woke up to, and the sun and all of that. And like, that's something that I'm not gonna post about or like tell anyone about even. It's just my own experience here as a person. And it's just as natural and part of nature as the tree itself, just being there through the seasons. And I'm recognizing like, oh, this is what I am as well. Even though I don't have little roots, I am able to go talk to people and like do what we do as humans, but I am not separate from actual nature. And so making more choices to give myself the experiences that I'm at peace in, that are less about showing other people, hey, I'm at peace in this moment.
But actually being.
And more about just being there for it. And I try to cultivate those on tour as well. But you're still, you're sneaking
it in, those moments in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a rhythm of life. It's more like frantic, calm. Are you calm? Are you calm enough? Okay, frantic.
The alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Calm. That's it. That was my calm time. Time to the bus.
So good luck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were you? Was nature a part of your childhood? Were your parents into it? Did you grow up in? I don't even know where you grew up.
I grew up in Southwest Missouri, and
in like the Ozarks area.
Around, close by, where we were about an hour north of Joplin. So directly in between Kansas City and Springfield. So we were 20 minutes from the closest Walmart and maybe 10 minutes from a gas station, and had a few neighbors' houses that we could see. But we had 60 acres, and we were homeschooled. We didn't have TVs. We had instruments, and you could play outside. And so you really could be as creative as you wanted. I mean, my brothers could like fix any car or do any woodworking, my little brother built his own woodworking shop when he was 15 years old. Like, he designed it on the computer, knew exactly what to ask for at the lumber store. And I drove him in our big 15-passenger van when I was 19 to like go pick up the lumber that he needed. So we were we were able to do creative things and be outside a lot. It wasn't that we were like the hiking family or anything. Yeah. It's that if you couldn't get your math problem, you were going to go run around the cedar tree in the front yard 3 times, and then maybe you could think clearer. So we did that.
That's a cool parent hack.
Yeah, but we played outside all the time. And we, like, most of our schoolwork would be done in the morning in a few hours. And since we didn't have to, there weren't so many of us that it was like, okay, everyone has to be on this schedule, and recess, it was like, go out, do your thing.
Man, I'm so glad. I bet my wife is very likely listening to this, and I'm just so glad she's hearing that, because I got some ideas about parenting. Tell you what, and I ain't ruled out homeschooling for kind of that sort of reason. Is that you can finish it up a lot, or the kids can finish up their homework in the morning and then have a lot of time to do rascally kid stuff.
That's the good stuff, though.
That's the good stuff. I mean, that's what I mean.
I mean, in town, that's different, because then it's
we won't live here. I'll move back to Idaho, where I grew up.
Oh, you grew up in Idaho?
I did, yeah.
Where in Idaho?
Twin Falls in the potato patch.
Wow.
But
yes.
The LDS. Is that what you just said?
Oh, I said... No, I just said, wow, yes.
Oh, wow,
but yes. LDS,
that's where my mind goes. Because it's big LDS country, and we were not. And so that was a weird experience, because even though I grew up in a very evangelical family, we were sort of outsiders with the norms. Oh, yeah. All the cute girls in high school were all Mormon, and all of the...
And your parents were like, no.
Yeah, no. I wasn't allowed to be a Boy Scout because of Mormons. And anyway, it was a great childhood, is my point. And that was mostly because I was outside all the time. Yeah. And it was just so wonderful and unstructured. Yeah. And my parents were not overly concerned with being me getting hurt, you were allowed to crash your bike and break your arm.
You were allowed to learn. And that's one of the biggest things I'm noticing parents that let their kids struggle and let them figure it out themselves, they just learned a life skill. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the parent's like, oh, you're having a hard time with that, let me do it for you. The kid never learns. They never got to learn what it means to know how to do that because it was done for them. And then you get these entitled little shits running around. Yeah, and I mean, we had goats and chickens and a dog and cats. We didn't have like cows and horses, really. I mean, occasionally we did, but so we had a little farm, and everybody kind of had their chores and things they had to do.
I would say that's very much a natural growing up, natural experience. Not hiking like you said, but
but it was you're outside, and with
animals and just part of the circle of life and being in the mix with all of that. If there were to be said to be a downside to being homeschooled, what would that be for you? Like the absence of sports? I don't know.
No, see, I don't know. I would have been running track probably. That was the thing that I was good at, I guess. But no, the downside, I don't know. There's give and take to however you grow up. And I did resent for a few years, like how I really wasn't normal. Like I didn't know the movies and the bands that some of my friends were starting to talk about when I was a teenager, and I felt really stupid for that. And now I look back and I go, wow, I got to travel to almost every state in the U.S. by the time I was 18. And my friends had gone on one family vacation that year. And it was like I had gotten to meet so many kinds of people, see different walks of life. And like bluegrass is still a pretty sheltered bubble, at least like the festivals that we were at, pretty family friendly, not very much alcohol. So it was still its own bubble. And then we were in our little bubble. But the downside, like...
Hard to articulate.
It is hard to articulate because there's certain things, like we were pretty remote. That's its own version. Like some people are more involved and they have like homeschool co-ops, or their kids go to a what's the school where you like learn hands-on Montessori school, which I've always been fascinated with that. I've been like, would I want to teach at a Montessori school? Because I love that. I love seeing kids be little humans rather than like, you're my kid, you're my extension, and you're also just a little idiot. It's like, no, this is an intelligent being who is doing everything for the first time. Like, how cool. So right now, I just see a lot of upsides to it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm definitely like, I would, if I was ever to have kids, like, I'd love some little wild hellions. Like, send them loose in the canyon, like, have fun, be back by noon. Okay. We'll have, take a little snack. And we were all okay. I mean, sometimes things happen, but, like, we were okay. And I liked that. I liked being able to be outside and not constantly check in with someone or like have a phone or like a tracker on me. It's like
no guard. The guardrails of life didn't apply.
Yeah.
This is maybe the most experimental part of this conversation, and it may or may not be successful, but I'm going to try anyway, because you're such a, you were so very, how do you say this? Like I said earlier, like music just kind of comes out of you. And you pointed to how much you liked the improvisational aspect of music, with bluegrass and then later. And then it makes me wonder how to ask this. Like when you're playing a song with, 4 chords, are you thinking, or more, if like it's a little bit more complicated, are you thinking chord changes? Are you thinking melody? Are you not thinking at all? How would you, if you could try to articulate what's going on in that moment?
In my brain?
Yeah, like how would you describe that?
I'm hearing all of it at the same time. Every note that every instrument is playing, the chord changes, how it's going to land if the bass player starts walking from the 1 to the 4 at this time or 2 beats later. It's like I am hearing all of that. I also hear melody and words and the music at the same time. It's not like, I listen to the lyrics first or the song and then I process the lyrics. It's everything at once. And because I play so many instruments, I'm actually able to picture, like my brain is hearing the note and seeing it on the fretboard. And so
even if it's another player, like the banjo.
Yes. And so it's a lot of information to process at one time. And that in and of itself is like its own kind of exhaustion. So I'm
Sure.
like, it's just too much. I can't always have music on in the car, like in the morning or at night when I'm alone, because my brain is, putting it somewhere. It's processing it. But yeah, I mean, what's cool about music is the part that you're playing with it and how you're interacting. And some friends of mine have called me a very reactive player lately, because what I play is so much based on how everyone else is approaching the song. And I do think about music as being a team player. Like you can't have all quarterbacks. And you can't have everybody be like a super flashy player all the time. I do think about what is going to serve this song.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is based on the content of the lyric. So if you can tap into the feeling that the lyric is bringing, and then if everyone is thinking like that, then it feels like a stream, like watching a stream flow down, because everyone's so engaged with each other and not focused on the one thing they're doing, but rather like what I'm doing is based off of what you're doing, based off of what
Yeah, it sounds like two things I get from that is one of like absolute present, staying in the present moment. And then the other thing is like listening.
Yeah.
And not like head down.
Right.
Here's my hair. I'm trucking. Try and keep up.
Yeah.
It's like what you get. I mean, especially with choppy players. I'd say.
With people that are super technical, there can be this like disconnect.
Yes.
But I don't enjoy listening to music like that either. And I also haven't forced myself to be that kind of a player. And so I know there are ways that I could be more proficient on each instrument if I was like, get out there, more of a driving coach. And instead it's like, no, I would play this same song so different based on who the other players are. And so giving myself that room to still be highly emotional about it. And sometimes that doesn't work when, other people have a very direct idea about how the song needs to be. And I always think about, well, let's have the song tell us how it wants to be. Like, what does it want from us? How can we assist it the best? So
I mean, that's a very gentle approach to the spirit of music and of a song. And it's probably exactly why I was so attracted to your music. Like from moment one, it's just really, you can tell a lot about a player and a person and what they're trying to achieve or do with their music. In 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. The
spirit of music is so evident and so clear if you're just listening to it.
Yeah.
That's really fascinating. And I could talk to you a lot more about the musical side of it, but you've been really generous with your time.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so excited that you were here for a little while. We covered some territory.
I know. We went a lot of places.
A little spirit of music, a little technical nuts and bolts. Last thing, what's next? Like what's next? MAIR in the Morning will come out maybe in 2025 at some point.
Yes, 2025 at some point. I will be showing it around. I might send it to you. I'll sing you a song.
Oh my God.
But I'll send you the project, and if you know of anybody that would love it too. I think with like the lick of the day thing, that's been successful as far as like visibility. I've gotten to connect with a lot of people over that. It's been an interesting thing to be like, lick of a day is also a thing, but like I also write songs and make music, and trying to like have those things be mutually beneficial. I've had different managers be like, you should just do this or like, how do you make them meet? I'm trying to figure that out, but like what's next is I'd love to turn like the lick of the day thing into kind of its own business that can take care of artist Mayer, who wants to just make beautiful music, and whoever wants to listen can, like, yes, promote it, show it to everyone I can, and like do it as best as I know how as far as marketing and connecting with people, but also like not having to have the music song creative side of me be like, you have to make money.
Saddle it with the obligation.
I can't put her in the dungeon before she's even gone outside.
I think that's a really great and healthy way to go about it. And
thank you.
Yeah, and smart, because
we'll find out if it works.
Yeah, we'll find. I'll watch.
Thank you.
I'll be buying a record. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Mary. Great to talk to you.
Of course.
I wish you the best. I can't wait to hear the new music.
Yay!
Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching. Go ahead and click here to like and subscribe. You can click right there to watch another video, or click here to watch a playlist featuring songs of the Morse Code podcast. Okay, thank you very much.